Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Van and today you have joined me here on Extinction, here in the desert biome, where today we are going to be doing a breeding video. So I have a taming pen, I have a little shack for stuff, and you may recognize this. It is a hatchery. We did this in one of the previous videos. On one of the builds. Today I thought I would go through breeding for mutations and what everything is involved in terms of going for that mythical 20-20. 20 mutations on one side, 20 on another. So I thought we may as well use the creature that is my favourite basically, and that's the Volonosaur. I love these creatures. They got a bit of a nerf not so long ago, so they're not quite as good as what they used to be, but they're still amazing. I mean, who can't love something that shoots spikes out of its face? What's not to love about that? So, without further ado, we need to start breeding for mutations. However, I don't know about you, but I don't see any Volonosaurs. Which means we're going to have to go out and tame some. So, with that, let's go and do that. Okay, and welcome back. We now have our Velonosaurs, as you've just seen from the Speedy Uppy bit. Went out and tamed up a few of these, and I've named them what their stats are. Now, don't really pay much attention to the stats of these, because this isn't like a video about, the greatest Velonosaur in the history of Velonosaurs and Ark and more Velonosaurs. This is just about the actual process of the breeding and getting to the stage of being able to go for mutations. So what I always do is I always name the creatures what their best stats are. So you go out and you tame yourself a whole bunch of different creatures. Now, a lot of people will say go out and tame up all 150s, or if your max level is 180, go and tame 180s. Yeah, if you see 150s or whatever your max is, yeah, grab hold of it, knock it out, tame it up, and see what you get. But I tend to actually find that the max level ones, all of the stats are pretty good. But the downside to that is that you don't get one particularly high stat. And when it comes to you like breeding and wanting to breed for like really good stats, before you even attempt to go for mutations, you want to have the highest stats you possibly can have. So I actually find that sort of a sweet spot when your max level is 150 is like from level 130 to say 145. And I've noticed that I tend to get higher levels. That might just be me. It might be just what I'm noticing. However, I don't prioritize purely just looking for level 150s. So some of these were level 135, some were level 140s. There was a 145 in amongst this, I think. So I don't rule out those ones, because I've actually found in the past Velonosaurs at level 135 that had an insane melee stat. And that means that there's less mutations that you're looking for. Or if you continue to go on with the mutations and keep going up for that 2020 mutations, you're going to end up with some insane stats. So biggest tip is go out there and tame a buttload of creatures. Now, I haven't tamed up the largest amount here, as this is for demonstration purposes, but if this was me actually playing in-game, I would be looking at probably taming 20 to 30 animals, and then sifting through, killing off the ones that don't make the cut. I do things like over there we've got a male that's named Green Mile. He is for the culling. None of the stats on there are better than anything else here, so he's just useless. The female over there that's got rubbish stats written on her, I'm probably going to use her purely and simply because the in the game females have a cooldown on the breeding, so I only have one female here that has any decent stats. I've got the two males there, one stam, one damage, and the female has HP and weight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to collate or bring together the stats. So if we have a look at here, we see that she's named hit points and weight. So she's got almost 600 weight, which is pretty good, not bad. Health, 3,500. Again, not bad. Seen better. And then we have a damage male, and this one is stamina. So 1527 stam. And this guy here, he's got 314 damage. Now, I believe she's got the same, 314 damage. So this male here actually probably isn't needed either, because this female has already got the 314. So basically, I want to get the stam from this dude here over combined with the hit points and the weight. So yeah, the HP, weight, and she's also got the damage as well, because this dude here has got 296. So what we're going to do is we're going to start these two breeding up. We're going to get up some eggs from these guys. We're going to start hatching them out and see if we can't combine our stats. I'm going to get going with that, and I'll bring you guys back in a few minutes. Okay, so guys, I brought you back at this point. I haven't actually combined all of the stats just yet. However, this male that's just popped out, we're probably about, I'd probably say about 15 or so eggs through. And so far, I've not managed to get very close to all the stats combining. Whereas this guy here, he has the health from the mum, he has the stamina from the dad, and that's the only stat that we were looking for. And he also has the melee from the mother as well. So the only thing that we are now waiting on is the weight. So yes, this isn't the fully combined, but it's a lot closer than what it was, and that means that the male will be a lot closer. So when it comes to combining stats, don't always be looking exactly for everything being combined. Make life a little bit easier for yourself and cut down on some of the work. Because if you get, like we have at the moment, we have a female that has the health, the weight, and the melee damage. So that's 3 of the stats. And then the male only has 1. Well, this male has the health, the stamina, and the melee. So all we're looking for now is just 1 stat to come over. So we've already kind of combined some of the stats. So I'm going to raise this guy up and I'm going to replace him with the other male, which just has the stamina on there. And that will mean that it will cut down. We're already like 15. I said we're about 15 eggs in. And if I keep on going, yeah, maybe it might be the very next one that I hatch out. We'll have one. Bang, done. But by doing this, it will help cut down your time. So next time I bring you back, hopefully I will have a male and a female with all of the right stats. Okay guys, welcome back. So I've managed to combine the stats onto these two, so a male and a female. Now, normally you'd think, at last, hurrah, however many eggs it's taken. It only actually took me about 3 or 4 eggs to actually get to this point, so not too bad. So you would normally think, brilliant, fantastic, start breeding. Downside is you'll notice, probably on my screen there, that the female is level 245 and the male is level 235. Now all of their stats are actually identical. You'll notice the torpidity is higher on the female, but that's because she has a higher level. So what we actually need to do is we need to breed these two together until we get a male and a female which are identical level as well as identical stats. Now, I tend to normally prefer it if they're twins, because then I know they are absolutely identical. But if they're identical level and identical stats, they are actually identical. Now, why would we go to this extra step to do this? The reason why you'd go the extra step to do this is your 0-0s, as I call them, which are your baseline breeders. They've got all the stats that you want on there. If they are exactly the same level, then when it comes to you looking for mutations, rain on cue, wonderful. When you're looking for mutations, you will easily be able to notice them when you're hatching them out, as when you get a mutation, the level goes up by 2. If you get 2 mutations at the time, then the level goes up by 4. So by taking the extra step for me to breed these two together now until I get all the same stats and exactly the same level, whether it's 235, whether it's 245, or whatever the level comes out as, we need to make sure that that happens. That way it will make our life considerably easier moving forward. And here we are with our combined level and stat, which is at 235. That was the one that first came out, which is why I chose 235. If we'd have had one pop out at 245, then I'd have gone with that. So quite simply, first came, first served. So what I've done here is we have a male at 235 and we have 4 females at also at 235, and they all have exactly the same levels and stats. So 235 and the health, stamina, oxygen, movement speed, the whole lot. Well, movement speed is set anyway. Melee, the whole lot is exactly the same. So as you can see, everything is exactly the same. So these guys need to breed together in order to give us mutations. As I mentioned a little bit earlier on, we'll be looking for 2 levels higher. So rather than 235, we're looking for 237. That's how maths works. And that would then be a mutation. Over here, we have one already. So here's a male. He has a colour mutation on the back here, which when you get mutations, you can or cannot get a colour mutation, and you will always get a stat mutation, but sometimes the stat mutation can go into movement speed, and then it's just a completely and utterly useless stat mutation, because it goes into movement speed but doesn't actually increase the stat. So it's just completely and utterly useless to you. But you may like the colour that subsequently comes from it, but that's by the by. So here he's got like a greeny colour on the back. That's his colour mutation. And if we go in, his name gives it away. Male, +1, stam. So he's actually got the higher stamina. So what's going to happen is this guy here, we're going to let him grow up. We're not going to imprint him in any shape or form. We're going to let him grow up. And then once he's grown up, he's going to take the place of the 00, the 00 male. 00 male I'm going to stick in a cryopod, which I'm going to do right now. So we're going to stick him in a cryopod, keep him nice and safe, out of the way. And this guy's going to grow up, and he's going to take the place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to then breed him with those 4 over there until we get another stamina mutation. Now, at this moment in time, when you're looking to do 20-20 mutations, so 20 mutations on one side, 20 mutations on the other side, I would recommend only doing 1 mutation on one side and 1 mutation on the other side. You can do 2, and you can't do any more than 2. You can do 2 on each side. So say for instance, the first run that we do, you can do stamina and health, for instance. So you could do 10 stamina and 10 health, and that would be your 20. It's just very, very complicated to do, and you get lost really, really quickly. So if this is your first time at trying 20-20 stacking mutations, then my biggest advice to you is do 1 on the first run. So for instance, stamina, we're going to do stamina on this one because it's relevant to this creature, and it's also one of the main stats that is used. So we're going to go with 20 mutations in stamina. And then on the next run, which I'll explain a little bit more, we'll then choose another one. But I wouldn't go more than 2, like I said. And to be brutally honest, if this is your first time at having a go at this, just stick to the 1. But this little dude needs to grow up. So once this little dude is grown up, I will bring you back and we will continue on. See you guys in a minute. Okay guys, so welcome back. So just earlier on we had replaced our 00 male with the male with the +1 mutation in stamina. Little while later, and we have this little dude here. He is +2 in stamina. So you can see he's gone up there, and we can see here he has got 2 mutations. And that is the way that you're going to keep on going until eventually you have 20 mutation stats. So you'll see 20 up here. So rather than 2/20, it'll say 20/20. And that is your 20 mutations on this one side, this paternal side. Now, earlier on, I did mention about 2 mutations, and I just wanted you to actually be able to look at what I'm referring to when I say that. So we had our 1 stamina mutation, and this particular male also has mutated again to give us a damage mutation. So we got the 1592 that we had from the father, and the 314 melee has mutated up to 325. And we have it actually, the mutation came from one of the mothers, so it's here on the maternal side, and the patrilineal side here, which is the father. Now, if we chose to go down this route of the 2 mutations, then what would happen is once we bred this male with those females, this one here would leave this side and would move to this side here. Okay, and that would mean that the 2 mutations would then be this side, which is the father's side. Like I said, doing the 2 is harder because you're keeping track of 2 stats and the levels. Like I said beforehand, if it is your first time of doing it, I would stick with just the 1 stat to begin with. Do that once, and then then maybe go for mutating 2 stats at a time. Like I said, it can get a little bit tricky. You get to sort of like round about the 15 mutation mark, by which time you can possibly be feeling a little bit frustrated because it's taking some time to do, and you start losing track of things. Writing stuff down, taking screenshots is a fantastic idea. Helps you keep track of where you are and things like that. So this little dude I'm not actually going to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on with this line of the stamina, and I'm going to keep going. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you back once I have the full 20 mutations on here. So full 20 mutations on this side. Okay, so wish me luck, guys. 20 mutations coming right up. So, welcome back, guys. Here in front of me, I have, as promised, a male with +20 in stamina. So, if we have a look at his stats, we can see the stamina is considerably higher than before. I think we started out around about sort of 1500 mark, and we've put on over 1000 points in stamina. And you can see here in the ancestry, up here in the top right hand corner, we have 20 mutations out of 20. So, how do we move forwards? How do we then manage to do the same thing when we already have mutations on this side? Because I said earlier on that we would start again and we would start breeding with another male. So we need to have these onto a female. So what we need to do is we need to move these stats here over onto this side. So what we do is we breed this guy with our females, our 00 females. Now you notice they seem to have doubled. As well, the whole process was going rather slowly, so I decided to double the amount of 00 females to speed things up for myself a little bit. So you take this guy over here, the male with the 2020 stand mutations, and you breed with your 00 females until you get a female. But that female is going to have all of the stats still on the male side, because she's going to get her mutations from the father. So you now have a female with those stats here. And what you do then is you breed her with our 00 male here until you get a female that then has all the same stats and the mutations here over on the left hand side. So just to recap on that, just so it's clear for everybody, we get our male with our 20 mutations, we breed him with our females, our 00 females, until we get a female with the 20 mutations. We then breed her with our 00 male until we get another female with all of the mutations, but with the mutations on the matrilineal side. Okay, so this means that when we do our next batch of mutations with, you know, aim for 2020 on both sides, we now have a female ready to breed with the male that we will have, that will have all of the new 20 mutations. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, if when you actually get the 20th mutation, if it's already a female, you're already one step closer, because you just miss out, obviously, breeding with the 00 females, because females and females in the world of Ark, unfortunately, don't do anything. So over here, you would just go straight to the female breeding with the male to then get the female. So next is our next line of mutations. So the next line of 20 mutations that we're going to do. Now, I have already begun. And here we have a new line. So from the 00 male and the 00 females, I bred up and I got a dude that has a melee mutation here. So gone from 314 to 325. And we can see that it was actually the mother that had the mutation, and we don't need to worry about it being on this side, because when we breed this guy with the females, that mutation will move from that side over to this side here, because it's the male that's mutated, so that will move over. That will move over onto this side, and we're now creating a brand new line of mutations, and this time we're choosing to do it in damage. So, I best get a little bit busy and get ourselves 20 mutations, all in damage, and then once I've done that, I'll bring these guys back, and then we can breed up to get our final Velonosaur. A Velonosaur that will have 20 stamina mutations on one side and 20 damage mutations on the other side. So, without further ado, okay guys, so welcome back. I said I'd bring you back when I had the next set of 20 mutations, and here they are. We have a male here who has 20 damage mutations to go along with the female that we did earlier on with 20 stamina mutations. So as you can see, they're both level 275. And if I go in here, you see that I've got 19 mutations there and 1 mutation there. And as I mentioned earlier on, if you have a male and he has a mutation that originally came from the mother, when you then breed that male with a female, that mutation will leave this side and will jump over onto this side. I didn't see the point in doing that step, but obviously if you decide that you want to go ahead and do that, then more power to you. So, The only thing left is to breed this male with that female to get ourselves our offspring. And over here, we have him. So, this guy has the 20 stamina mutations and the 20 melee mutations. And here you have your 20/20. So 20 mutations on one side, 20 mutations on the other side. So all the mutation slots have now been taken. And if you cast your mind back to when we first tamed up these guys, they weren't the strongest guys in the world. They were our original stock wasn't outstanding. You know, we didn't have anything with an amazing health pool or huge amounts of stamina or huge amounts of damage or anything like that. What we had was just some fairly ordinary Volanosaurs. And with quite a bit of hard work, but still, we've now managed to bump that stamina way up to almost 3,000 and bump that melee damage right up. All just through breeding with the stock that we had. Now, if we had some, you know, if I'd have done the steps that I've suggested to you guys about going out and taming, you know, 30, 40, 50 creatures and make sure that you're getting the absolute highest stats that you can possibly get within health, stamina or melee, then it means that when you do this long step of getting your 20 mutations one side and 20 mutations the other side, these stats can then be astronomical. So it really is worth your while to put in the hard work and tame as many creatures to get those fantastic stats. Now, what would one of these look like if we actually leveled it up? Well, over here, because we actually got twins when I bred those two over there, the male there and the female here, they are actually twins. So I decided to imprint and fully level up, so you guys could see the kind of stats that you could end up going with. So like 10,000 health, 7,500 stamina, and not far off 1,000 melee in the damage there. You pair that with a really good quality saddle, and you've got yourself a really, really good Volanosaur, and all just from breeding. Now you'll notice over here that these two being level 275 and the children come out at a higher level, that's going to happen because you're breeding the two of them together, and all of those mutations coming together, they're going to end up a higher level. But most importantly is that we've got all the right stats and the 20/20. Now, I mentioned earlier on about mad, funky, wacky colours, and you'll be thinking to yourself, well, these guys kind of look like the original parents. They're not really funky, wacky colours. Well, during the process of doing this, and with all of these different males that we've got in here with +2 stamina, +16, all the way up to the +20, I did actually get some that had some fairly good colours in them, but they just didn't stick. And that sometimes happens. You sometimes end up with, at the end of it, 20/20 mutations, amazing stats, and they just look like the boring ones that you tamed right at the very beginning. And if that is the case, then what you can do is you can do something that I did on a server a little while ago, which is this. You sort out all of your stats, you get to the where you want all your stats, and then you just breed them back in and dump them all back in on the male. And that way you end up being able to keep on going with mutations if you want to. But it also meant that I was able to, during the course of it, I kept certain colours that I wanted. So I kept this blue body and the white highlights along with the black as well across the back. And I kept them to one side, and then once I was happy with my stats, I then started breeding in order to get the colours I was looking for. So in my opinion, always sort out your stats first, and then look at breeding in your colours and stuff. Because if you try and just keep hold of a colour, you know, if you've already got 20 mutations on one side and you're in halfway through on your second run, and all of a sudden you come across this amazing colour, and then you try your hardest to keep hold of that colour, you're going to be breeding an awful lot. Your best bet is to do as I did before there. You noticed in that cryo fridge, I kept all of the males from every single stage along. So I've got lots of different colours within there. And if there's a specific colour that you really like, just keep hold of it and put it to one side, because there's nothing stopping you from them breeding and trying to get the colours back in later on. And then get yourself a creature that kind of epitomises your own colours yourself. So guys, that is my video on how to breed for mutations and how to breed for those 20 mutations. 20 mutations one side and 20 mutations the other side. I hope you find this video educational and useful, and I hope you're able to then now go out there and go and breed and strive for those mutations with some confidence. If you've got any questions, like I always say, please chuck them in the comments below. If you like the content, please consider giving it a like. If you like my content in general, please consider subscribing to the channel. And like I always say, it's not just because this is the way that I choose to do it, doesn't mean that it is the absolute nailed-on only way of doing things. If any of you have got any different ways of doing stuff, any different ways of stacking mutations, feel free, chuck them in the comments, share them amongst everybody. Guys, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you on the next one.